Self-sabotage isn't a mindset issue, it's a safety strategy. And here's the twist. The part of you that's sabotaging your success, it actually thinks it's protecting you. It's not trying to ruin your life, it's trying to keep you safe. But here's the real problem. Most people try to fight their sabotage, their inner saboteur. But what if the breakthrough doesn't come from fighting it? What if it comes from understanding it? I've seen people drastically change once they understand what their subconscious mind is actually trying to do. And I love that moment when the light bulb hits and someone says, wait, that actually doesn't make any sense believing that, does it? No, it usually doesn't. Well, it did in the past, but it doesn't anymore. So let's dive into that topic that I honestly live and breathe for. Why we sabotage ourselves, why it's so hard to stop, and how we can finally shift the pattern from the inside out. That voice in your head that slows you down, doubts your dream, delays your next move, that's not self-hate. That's self-protection. It's your subconscious stepping in to say, let's not take that risk. Let's not be seen. Let's not get hurt again. And this goes deep. Most of these patterns were wired into you when you were very, very young, before you had logic, language, or strategy. You made emotional decisions based on what you experienced. If I speak up, I get shut down. If I shine, others will feel small. If I fail, I will be humiliated. If I'm successful, I might lose love or connection. Some of these sound familiar? Now, to really understand how this all works, let me give you some of my favorite metaphors. I often compare the subconscious mind to an operating system of a computer. When you buy a new laptop, it's just hardware. It can't do anything until the operating system is installed. And once that OS is in place, it determines what kind of programs can run. So you could find the perfect program, something that solves all of your tech problems. But if that program is built for Microsoft and you're using a Mac, the Mac just says, nope, doesn't fit the system. Not because the program is bad, but because it's not compatible. It doesn't fit the already existing operating system. And your subconscious mind does exactly the same thing. When we are born, we're like that brand new machine, fresh, open, unformed. We can sleep, breathe, eat, poop, scream, but that's about it. But over the first roughly 7 years of your life, some say it actually expands over the first 9 years, we absorb everything. And because we don't have yet a critical filter, we don't question it. We just take it in. We observe and we absorb. We build our beliefs about love, money, success, trust, visibility, safety based on our environment, our family, our teachers, our preachers, siblings, friends, and of course, the culture we grew up in. And that becomes our emotional operating system. It becomes your temperature setting, like a thermostat. Let's say you're set to a cozy 21 degrees, that's centigrades. If things get too hot, you shine too bright, you get too much love, too much ease, your system says, whoa, turn that down. And if things get too cold, too disconnected, too unfamiliar, your system creates just enough drama to bring you back to normal. And normal doesn't mean healthy. It just means familiar. Let me repeat that. Normal doesn't mean healthy. It just means familiar. That's the real danger of sabotage. It's just our system protecting its own settings. So here's where it gets interesting. Self-sabotage actually becomes addictive in a sense because it feels safe, predictable, familiar. Your brain and body start associating the old pattern, even if it sucks, with comfort. Dare I say, with a feeling of being at home. So now you're filtering out anything that doesn't match that original operating system. You're literally deleting or distorting 99% of the incoming information every day because it's just too much for us to compute. But you delete and distort the information not based on what's good for you, but based on what matches your existing beliefs, what matches your already existing operating system. I think it was Anais Nin who said so beautifully, we don't see the world how the world is. We see the world how we are. And that quote is bang on. So maybe that dream partner, the breakthrough, the opportunity, it's right in front of you. But if your system doesn't recognize it as safe, you just won't see it. You won't let it in, even though it might be the best thing ever for you. And that's why self-sabotage is so sneaky. It's not keeping you stuck because you're not capable. Of course not. It's keeping you stuck because some part of you still believe it's not safe to grow. But here's the best part. The moment you start seeing this, you can start changing it. That's when things start to open up. So, how do you shift it without fighting yourself? Here's the deal. You don't need to fight your sabotage. You need to understand it first and only then shift your response to it. So, first, you have to understand that you might be stuck in a pattern that used to keep you safe, but doesn't serve you anymore today. That helps you to release it, and only then we have to try on and shift into a new identity that we now are without those old beliefs. Now, here's a framework that might help you. Interrupt the pattern. The next time you catch yourself stalling, spinning, ghosting your own goals, or simply feeling paralyzed, stuck, I think this is what I probably hear the most. Just pause and then say, there it is again. That's my old operating system kicking in. Awareness creates space. It creates a distance between you and the program. So it's not your identity anymore. And space gives you power. And then get curious. Ask, what is this trying to protect me from? A fear of failing, fear of being too visible, fear of judgment, and then follow it up with, is that fear even mine or did I inherit it? You might be able to trace it down, but in my experience, of course, it's easier if you have somebody else guide you through it, simply because they are outside of your operating system that is, of course, trying to protect you. However, when you do this by yourself, journaling on those questions can be extremely helpful because it sometimes allows some very deep and old thoughts to just bubble up. But the most important part here is to catch your pattern first. I want to share a very personal story I experienced a couple of years ago. I used to have a money mindset that said something like, money is always just enough. So I was never really deeply in debt, never owing someone a big chunk of money, or I was also never really in abundance. And that is something that I picked up from my parents, especially my mom. And I had come a long way out of those beliefs and was able to build a buffer for myself. And then a few years back, I suddenly found myself back in an overdraft. Something I didn't have for a long time, but the scariest thought popped up when I realized my financial situation. I caught myself thinking, well, this is shit, pardon my French, but at least I feel like home again. I can relax now. I mean, what? How shit is that? I'm in financial stress and suddenly my system goes, oh, I know that. I can finally breathe out again because I'm back to where I belong. That's the familiar bit. I have to admit, that was incredibly uncomfortable to notice, but so important for me because it also took me only about 20 minutes to get out of the stress again, once I noticed what was going on. Something that in the past would have taken me weeks or even months to get through. I now caught an old, very old pattern of mine and could say, there you are again, old friend. I know you. I've been here before. There's just still a small part in my operating system running, apparently trying to pull me back. We've been here before. I've solved this before, and it's just a little setback before we keep going to the next level. Yes, very often this stuff happens when we are actually breaking through to a next level, whatever that means in your life. The interesting thing is that the money issue was solved within the week because I was now able to operate from a new operating system. Does that make sense? So we have to anchor in the new identity, and this part is key. Don't just ask, what should I do? Ask, who do I want to be right now? Who do I need to be in order to solve this? Because action flows from identity. So start showing up as the version of you who already trusts themselves, the version of you who's already free. But you see, many teachers only teach the identity bit. But if you don't understand why the old identity keeps pulling you back, it won't allow you to just show up as the new you. It doesn't work. We have to work on both in both directions. It sometimes works. I have seen it work, but only when the other shift had already taken place somehow, when there was some form of insight already. Now, I used to teach this whole bit that I just taught you at the beginning of my workshops, and I still do, by the way. But back then, in the very beginning, because I was teaching it so much, I had quickly forgotten how mind-blowing this information can be when you hear it for the first time, because we suddenly feel we can actually change stuff that we thought was a done deal. And so your head might be racing right now, might be spinning a little bit, and that's a good thing because you're so much more than what you believe you are. We all are. That's why one of my all-time favorite phrases is, don't believe everything you think, especially about yourself. And this is an ongoing process of expansion, but once you start this journey, it's so beautiful because that truly takes you back to you, without those stories that we tell ourselves, but with all the skills you have mastered already. So to wrap it all up, you don't need to become someone else. You just need to start questioning your own outdated operating system. You can do an update, you know. Self-sabotage isn't a flaw. It's a subconscious safety mechanism. But now you're aware, and that awareness, that's your key. You can't shift what you can't see. But once you see your pattern, you get your power back. This is exactly what we do inside all of my Beyond Success work. It's not just hitting goals, but rewriting the story that's been running underneath them. So let me ask you, what's the sabotage pattern you're aware of right now? What did this video bring up for you? And what do you think it's been trying to protect you from? If you dare, drop it in the comments because the moment you name it, you're already changing it. And if this video hits something for you, please subscribe. My channel is still very small and I can use the support. And also because in the next video, we are diving into the hidden cost of playing small and how to break free from that. And trust me, I think you do not want to miss that one.